Father, I pray that you will teach us what it means to wait on you. In Jesus' name we pray. And God's people said amen. Amen. This morning I want to talk to you, and I pray that you find encouragement in this message. Amen. I want to talk to you about trusting God in transition. We're still in Exodus, and I want to talk to you about trusting God in transition. Thank you, Minister Jack, and for all the music ministry for singing that song, because it hits right where we needed to hit with trusting God. That's a transition song, holding out and trusting and waiting until God comes through. And what do you do in the meantime? Yeah, you got to trust God in transition. Good morning. Good morning, Victory. I say good morning. Okay, now let's try this one. It's good to see you. Amen. Is it good to see the person next to you too? Well, go on and turn around and tell them. Say, like, look them in the face. Tell them, for real, it's really good to see you. It's really good. Amen. Yeah, there you go. Amen. Somebody needed to hear that. Somebody needed to hear that. Thank you for being an agent of grace this morning. Please stand with us. Exodus chapter 2, verses 16 and following. Exodus chapter 2, verses 16 and following. Amen. Exodus chapter 2, verse 16. If you have it, say, I got it. All right. Reading from the English Standard Version. This is Moses in the wilderness. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their flocks, their father's flock. The shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and saved them and watered their flock. When they came home to their father Reuel, he said, how is it that you have come home so soon today? They said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds and even drew water for us and watered the flock. He said to his daughters, then where is he? Why have you left the man? Call him that he may eat some bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah. And she gave birth to a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner. That's another word for transition, if you mind. A sojourner in a foreign land. Trusting God in transition. Trusting God in transition. The song still rings true today. That was written, that old hymn said, time is filled with swift transition. And I'm sure that you can attest to the fact that life has a way of putting you in a roller coaster where you feel like at one time you're upside down, the next time you're on the other side of this. As soon as you thought you had something over here, that's gone. Now you're out of here. And what we've discovered is, and you don't got to spend too much time on this, is that life is full of transition. Transition is inevitable. It's unavoidable. You're going to face the transition. The question becomes, in this text, as we look at Moses' life, who's shown enough in a transition, since it's coming, or since I'm there, how do I trust God in transition? Or put it better, what do I trust God for in the middle of transition? Well, there are a number of different types of transitions that we face. One is, let's just start here, there's occupational transition and financial transition. And sometimes God will allow you to be on top, and then next thing you know, you at the bottom. There's sometimes you get a job. Some of you right now, you're in the middle of a job. Some of you just moved from one job to another. There are others who had got a job, and then you lost your job, and now you're trying to figure out how you're going to make these ends meet. There are others of you who are moving from the job industry, and now you are into this thing called retirement. Won't you say praise the Lord? Amen. Look at somebody say, I'm in transition. Yeah, and that's good for a while. As soon as you know you've been working for 30 years, that's real cool. But after a while, kind of talk to somebody who's been in retirement for a while and start talking to them, because sometimes that new joy that you get old because you still got to live. It's not enough to retire from something. You need to retire to something. Look at somebody and say, I'm in transition. You know, just because you through with the job don't mean God through with you. You want to say amen because it's true. I'm in transition. Some of you had financial transitions where with the money and situations even now trying to figure out, can't hardly even listen to me or get with the songs. And they talking about hold out. You're like, shoot, how long? And we keep on talking about he may not come when you want him, but he's like, okay, well, where is watch? Yeah, give me his watch. You just holding out and you're in the middle of transition. There are other transitions, not only occupational. Others of you have made, as me and my family, we have made a geographical transition. Some of you have not lived in the city of Las Vegas forever, so you're coming from different places, and now you are in a new place, having to leave old friends and familiar places, and now you're coming to this new place, having to get new people and all of that, and that can't be the easiest. That's not always the easiest of things. And some of you have you've been in Las Vegas, but you moved to a new neighborhood, and now you got to deal with some more problems. There are others of you who moved from an apartment to a house, and thank God you got the house, but there are some problems you got with the house that you didn't have to have with the apartment. Look at somebody say, I'm in transition. And some of you didn't have to change. You don't even have to change a city or a community to be in a transition. Some of you have experienced transitions in your own home. By the way, if you stay in that house that you in with them people that you with for a long time, a transition will take place right there with the same people. That's why it's not enough to get married based on the level of compatibility that you have, because whatever compatibility you got right now, 10 years it won't be there, because the person you getting married to will change, and so will you. Look at somebody and say transition. Oh my God, there are a number, and then some of us have experienced health transitions, where there was one time when I could pull things, I could walk a little further, I had a little bit more strength, I didn't have to go to the bathroom as many times at night, and I didn't have to buy Viagra. But look at somebody and say transition. That was just for the people that would sleep. You go to the doctor, you get a diagnosis every time you've been. I mean, you've been on the treadmill, you've been, just healthy, and all of a sudden, you're getting this stuff, and everything is breaking down, and it's like all at once, like, can you do it once at a time? And your body like, no. Your lung, then your kidneys, then your arm, and it's like an all mess. And it's like, I used to be strong, and everything wasn't nothing I could eat until my heart's content. These are ice cream at 12 midnight, a brownie, and that stuff like it just fall up off me. But now it's like, leave, get out, I rebuke you. And it won't go nowhere. Can you say transition? Yeah, it's not the easiest thing. And then there's the inevitable transition of ages and stages of life, where I'm not as young as I used to be. Some of you are older than others. Some of you are younger, but even as a young person, you still have to make some transitions. One person put it like this. They put our transitions in from age in relation to Santa Claus. They say, well, first, when you're young, there's a stage when you believe in Santa Claus. Then you get a little older, then you move to another stage where you don't believe in Santa Claus, and it finally hits you that ain't no white man coming up your chimney. You're like, wait, I ain't even got no chimney. You move from believing in Santa Claus, then the next stage to you don't believe in Santa Claus. Then you get a little older and you pick up a family and get kids and whatnot, and now you become Santa Claus because you're the one giving the gifts. And then you move from being Santa Claus to you move to your next stage where you start looking like Santa Claus. Look at somebody and say transition. Yeah. Time is filled with swift transition, so we ain't got to go back and forth about whether or not things are, and you do everything you can to keep things as they are, because there's something about us that we want to keep this thing called a comfort zone. But God, keep on moving that comfort zone out the way. God, keep on taking you out of your comfort zone, because he wants you to know it's not your surrounding, it's not your situation that is going to take care of you. Your situation is going to change, but this is how you trust God in the middle of transition. Here it is. In the midst of ever-changing transitions, you can trust in a never-changing God. Can I say that one more time? In the midst of ever-changing transitions, there's one thing that won't change, y'all. You can trust in a never-changing God. First thing I see is this: you can be a servant in your transition. As I look at the text, and Moses becomes this model of what it looks like to go through transition. Think about all that he's been through in Egypt, and now he's been kicked out, had to run away. He's a fugitive on the run, got a police record, can't go back and then don't know in terms of his past and don't know where he's going as it relates to his future. The verse previous to this, verse 16, says that he sat down by a well. And I want to say, first of all, you can, at trusting God, you can be a servant in the midst of transition. Now the priest, verse 16, of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. The shepherds came, let's call them what they are, bullies, and drove these girls away. You see that? But Moses, the text is going to say, stood up and saved them and watered their flock. I want to say, first of all, you can be a servant in transition. First of all, before you appreciate Moses standing up and helping the defenseless and watering the flock, look at the background and appreciate Moses' situation. Verse 15 that precedes this said he sat at a well. Can we for a minute just appreciate this brother's situation, to appreciate how he served in the midst of transition? He's sitting at a well. Let's just take a moment to sit at the well with Moses, and in our minds and our imagination, put yourself there. Sitting at the well. So easy to just walk by and he sat at the well and then I want to get to the good. No, just sit with him at the well. What's going on with him at this well? Number one, he's been separated from his home. The only home he's ever known up to this point is Egypt. He's separated from his home. He's separated from the palace. He's always lived well because he's lived up in the palace. He's separated not only from his home, but he's also, sit with him at the well, he's separated from his family. And now, although he didn't grow up with the Hebrews in Goshen, they lived close enough where he was connected to his mama. He was connected to his sister. He knew his brother. He was connected. So now, not only as he's at the well, he's separated from his home. He's separated, from his family. Can you see him at this well, hanging out in the middle of a past that he can't return to and a future that is unknown? Have you ever been there where you are in a transition where whatever past you had, you can't go back to that, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future? Sit with him at the well and appreciate the questions that must be running through his mind as he's sitting at the well and what's happening with him. Here's number one: I'll never see my mother again. By the way, it's hard to kind of enter into his situation because you done read the book of Exodus. Let me tell you something. Moses didn't read the book of Exodus. He didn't read chapter 3 and chapter 4. He didn't read chapter 15 and the Red Sea. He just stuck at the well with a past that he cannot return to and a future that is unknown. I'll never see my mother again. I'll never see my family again. I'll never see home again. Here's the question: what am I going to eat? Sit at the well for a minute. What am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? How am I going to support myself? He's here at a well, can't go back to his past, don't know what's going to happen in the future, and it's so easy for him to just focus on himself in the middle of this situation. But in the middle of nowhere, what God does is he synchronizes his situation with this altercation. He synchronizes Moses' situation here at the well with this altercation. The altercation, of course, is these shepherds who are here, and Moses just happens to be there at the right place, at the right time, seeing these shepherds take advantage of these girls. They're going to sit back, let these girls draw the water, do all the work and everything, and being there watering their flock. And instead of letting them take the water that they got, they let the girls draw the water, take the water from them, and drive them off. Here you got, that's why I call them bullies. And they're jumping on the defenseless. And you know what? Since I've been checking out Moses' record, the last thing you want to do around Moses is jump on somebody that can't help themselves. Was y'all here last week? Was y'all here the week before? The last thing you want to do around the Moses is mess with somebody who cannot help themselves. I wish I had a witness in here. Yeah, so I need you, as you see this, and as Moses is watching this, I want you to appreciate the servant in him based on two things. Number one, he's in transition and he ain't got nothing. So easy. I'll give you a little something. If I got money in the bank, I'm full of everything. Here you go, but I'm broke and I ain't got nothing. It's very easy for me to get into an attitude and say, you know what? I understand y'all got a problem over there, but I ain't got nothing myself. At least y'all got a well to draw from. I ain't got nothing. It's so easy when I ain't got nothing to look at somebody else and say, I really can't help you right now because I'm down. And number two, appreciate the fact that he is out there because he helps somebody. The reason why he's out ain't got no past, ain't got no future. The reason why he had to run away, y'all recall, is because he reached out and helped somebody. He helped the guy that was getting beat, and then when he saw a Hebrew beating a Hebrew, he jumped in. He's been a man who tried to help the helpless, and now he sees it again, and it's so easy. Matter of fact, what would you do if you've been beat up so many times, and every time you tried to help somebody, they turn around and turn on you, and the reason why you out is because they took advantage of you, didn't appreciate what you did, and now you got somebody else you can help. What's your attitude going to be? I'm going to tell you because you in church. You ain't going to tell the truth. This is you right here. Now, okay, this is me. This the last time. Y'all ain't got to never worry about me helping none of y'all Negroes no more. Because every time I stick myself out there to help y'all bite my hand. Y'all can't appreciate nothing. So here at the well, I can appreciate if Moses took the thing. Now, been there, done that. Every time I try to help somebody, I find myself out here. It's time for me to look out for myself. I'm sick of looking for everybody else. But in the face of all that, Moses had some servant in him that stood up and said, I may not have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but God got me out here and he put servant in me and I'm going to help somebody. And he was as much of a servant in the wilderness that he was in Egypt. He's in the middle of transition, and it's easy to opt out of service when you're in the middle of a transition. Some of us, we are hide behind the fact that we're going through to say this is the reason why you can't help nobody. And I got to look out for myself right now. Like the Bible says, look out for number one. What Bible you read? Look at somebody and say, yeah, it's in Galatians somewhere. It's in Galatians. Help somebody. Appreciate that he's just being who he is. Before God gives this dude a position, he gives him a passion. He ain't a prophet yet. He ain't the one with the rod. He ain't had the experience at the mountain. He ain't had none of that. He got a past he can't go through, and he got a future that he doesn't know. But he says, no, I ain't going to do this because I'm Mr. Prophet. I ain't going to do this because I got Bishop in front of my name. I ain't going to do this because I got Reverend Ever Dr. Bishop. I'm not going to do this because I got a whole bunch of titles. I'm going to do this because God made me a servant, and God gave him the passion before he gave. And somebody need to hear that, because you waiting on somebody to put you in an office and put you over some folk and put you in a ministry and put you somewhere. No, God can use you right where you are. And if you can't serve where you are, let me put it like this: a little bit will show you what a lot's gonna be like. Contrast him in the text with Pharaoh. Pharaoh is consistently selfish and wicked. Moses is consistently a servant. You remember, Pharaoh does all he can to oppress people up to this time. Moses is doing everything he can to deliver people up to this time. Pharaoh has a knack of pitting people against each other. Remember the women that he tried to get those women to go against their own people and take out the babies? Y'all remember that? Yeah, Pharaoh had a knack for turning people against each other. Moses was known to try to reconcile brothers and bring them back together. Pharaoh had a knack. This is what Pharaoh did. He exploited women. He looked at the women in this kingdom and said, how can I use you to take the man out? He exploited women. But here in this text, Moses don't exploit women. He delivers women and helps women. And here you go. Pharaoh, up to this time, has had 3 attempts to take people out. Compare that and contrast that to Moses. This is the 3rd time that Moses has attempted to deliver. Y'all do remember the first time he tried to deliver with the Egyptian that was beating the Israelite. Second time he intervened was when the Hebrew was jumping on the Hebrew. This is going to make the 3rd time that he intervenes, and he ain't at the house no more. He ain't got nothing no more. It's just the servant that is in him. It's so easy to fall into a penitentiary of self-pity when you're in transition. It's so easy to get into self-centeredness and put God on hold and put others on hold and say, when I get my breakthrough, then I'll help you out. No, but some of the best help that you can give is in the middle of your own transition. Just because God got your life on hold in terms of your destiny don't mean he got you on hold as a servant. And God will use you exactly where you are. Quit using that excuse not to serve, because God can use Moses in a wilderness. He can use you right where you are. And too many of us, we in the paralysis of analysis. And we so busy surveying and evaluating. Yeah, come on, yeah, Doc, yes. Evaluating our situation. Thank you, Bishop. Still, no, don't go nowhere, because I ain't gonna keep it up here. We so busy evaluating our situation, and we ain't got no time for nobody else. We have a self-centered ethic as opposed to an other-centered ethic. So while we in transition, we spend all of our time, rob all the opportunities that God give us in the paralysis of analysis, weighing. And here's the answer. Here's the question that we ask. Is the glass half full, or is my glass half empty? And you going back and forth just evaluating your situation. Is it half full? If it's half empty, the half full is the optimist. You know, you Mr. Rogers and Joe Osteen and all of that. I believe I can fly and everything, and God bless you. Then you have yours who say the glass is half empty. That's your pessimist who always down. Nobody knows. Every time we sing you're singing another Negro spiritual. And there's nothing wrong with singing the spiritual, but there's some other things out there too. The Lord will make a way somehow. You'll try that sometime. I keep on looking at the glass. And here's the thing. I keep on looking at my situation, evaluating the situation in the paralysis of analysis, is it half full or is it half empty? Maybe there's another question that I can ask. Not is it half full, not is it half empty, but taking the water that I have in here and reaching out to you and say, are you thirsty? Instead of going back and forth about what your situation is and what it ain't and all of that, you there right now. You in transition. Go and accept it. And instead of going back and forth with what you have and what you don't have, say, you know what, forget all that. I do have something in here, and what God has given me, I'm going to use it to help somebody else. He was a servant in transition. Do I have witness? All right. Not only do I see that we have, you can be a servant in transition, but second, you can be sustained in transition. Let me put it like this. God can sustain you. God can hold you. God can keep you in the middle of transition, and I might even be in front of myself, but let me just go on and say it right now. For some of you who are in the middle of transition, asking the question, if God loved me, why would he allow me to be in this situation? Well, it's those situations that he lets you know who he is. If you never got into, there's some stuff that you would never know about God if you were not in the middle of transition. I wouldn't know that he's a sustainer if I didn't need to be kept. I wouldn't know that he's a healer if I didn't get sick. I wouldn't know that he got grace to forgive if I never fell down in sin. It's some stuff that I never would know if I would. It was Andre Crouch that put it, if I never had a problem, I wouldn't know that he could solve it. I wouldn't know what faith in God can do. So sometimes that thing is tailor-made. The transition is tailor-made to teach you some stuff about trusting God that you couldn't learn at the big house. Am I making sense? Well, the text moves on, and the way God, he does it so sweetly. He's not even mentioned in the text, but he's all over the place. God is not on the scene, but he's in the scene. We call that providence. So here's the thing, y'all. He goes and he does that, helps the girls out. You know, the text said he stood and saved them. And then he went even further and watered. He didn't just say, okay, now, girls, y'all got to go on here. Now, he went even further and watered their flock. And understand, Moses has not read Exodus, so he don't know what's going to happen next. He don't know. He didn't make a contract with these girls and say, look here, the guys come out here, I'm going to hook y'all up, but y'all hook a brother up with something here. You know what I'm saying? I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It wasn't nothing like that. He didn't know. And the reason why I know is because the text is going to stop and let you know that he didn't know, because the girls leave after he does that. They walk back home, got the flock, and the daddy, the text stops to let you know that daddy says, he don't expect, how y'all get back here so quick? The text didn't have to do that. He could have said they would say, what's going on? He lets you in on the dialogue. And notice they ain't got no connection with Moses. They don't even say Moses, the one who God gonna use and all of that is the one. Moses, the prophet. They don't know nothing about that. They call him an Egyptian. We had some African out there. Just said, that's all they said. Oh, it was some Egyptian. We got into trouble with the men, and the Egyptian came and helped. An Egyptian came and helped. You didn't even stop to ask the dude what his name was. An Egyptian helped us, and then he goes off and got to get his daughter straight. He said, okay, he did all that for y'all, and y'all just walked out. Where the brother at? Moses didn't know that God was going to work in this situation in order to give him what he needed, and I appreciate that. Just stop and appreciate Ruel, whose other name is Jethro. Appreciate the dad that got enough sense to spot a good man when he see him. The text stops to tell you, he goes out, why y'all just walk out with your ungrateful self? Gonna leave the boy out there? No, that's a good man. And sometimes these women, these little girls, they need the help of a wise mama and a wise daddy to help them know the difference between a good man and a bad man. And sometimes they choose a low-down, dirty scumbag because that's all they've been. And some of these girls, they'll bring home one of them shepherds who won't work, who sit back and let her do everything while you at home eating Captain Crunch, playing video game, and she working her behind off. And then when she bring her money, you go and take it and buy whatever the hell you want to buy. And daddy said, don't bring her here. Don't bring that kind of boy here. I need somebody that's going to have to take care of you. You mean to tell me that not only did he defend you on shepherds, one dude on all these dudes, and then after that, he helped you with the water, and then watered your flock? That looks like an eligible Egyptian bachelor who knows how to protect and who knows how to provide. And some of these girls, all they used to. Look at the person next to you, ask them, say, do you know how to spot a keeper? Do you know how to spot a keeper? And let me help you women out sometimes. Sometimes you're on your fourth or fifth or sixth man, and you ain't got nothing for men. You go around running men down. They ain't no good now. Ain't this that, and they did me this and that. What happened to the second one? Well, the second one I thought he was good. What happened to the third? Well, he acted like he was okay, but such. What fourth one? He went on. I was like, okay, now after we get to so many, maybe you need to stop checking him out and start asking the question: what is it? Why you keep on attracting these no good folk? And maybe you need a mama or a daddy, and if mama and daddy go, come out to the church and get one of these deacons or one of these brothers who've been around for a while and can bring them up to the church and let them sniff them. No, baby, go on and put him back in that trash can where you found him. I'm smelling some stuff. Well, God can change. Yeah, well, let God change, and then you take him. Don't you try to change him. Yeah, we need some sniffers. He brings them to the house. Didn't even know it. No contract, no deal. Moses just being who he is, just doing what he do, just being a servant. And in the midst of him doing just what he does and being a servant, God provided for his needs. And some of you need to hear that message. All right? Because sometimes what God provides for you is going to be in you just doing what God has called. You just keep on serving. You just keep on being faithful. And it's going to be in the midst of your faithfulness that your hookup is in the path. But you'll never get it if you just sitting on the bleachers of life talking about what ain't nobody doing nothing for me. You just do what God calls you to do. And behind the corner, he'll have a ruel for you. And notice the text where he says he brings them in and God moves this man and gives him everything that he needs. Appreciate that he gives him, not only does he give him a house, but he brings him into the house. There you go. And then not only that, but he gives him something to eat. He said, give him some bread, got a house. Then he gets a job. Then he gets a wife. Then he get a family. Let me do that again. This dude who's in the middle of transition, who couldn't go back to his past and didn't know what his future, but in the midst of him doing just what God had put on his heart to help to defend, and in the midst of that, God provided for him in the midst of the wilderness. Number one, he gave him something to eat. Number two, he gave him somewhere to stay. And he got 7 daughters. The girls bring them back in there. Can you see Moses looking around? He got 7 daughters in the house. He said, Jethro said, can you come on? You think you want to stay here? And I can see Moses looking around and say, yeah, I can hang with you for a little while here, yeah. God almighty. Yeah, I can hang here with you. He said, well, I don't get, okay, and I see you a protector and a provider. I tell you what, let me give you a job around here. I got the shepherds, and you look like you good with protecting and feeding the flock, so I'm going to send you out here and be a shepherd here. So he got a house, he got a job, he got some bread, he got a wife. He said, now here, let me give you one of my wives, one of my daughters. He gives Zipporah, brought Zipporah to him, said, here, now this your girl now. And then they come and have a baby. God has provided all of his needs in the midst. And appreciate where he comes from, y'all, because all of us, this is not a rags to riches story. Moses didn't move from rags to riches. Moses moved from riches to rags. See, it's one thing when you're down and you ain't got nothing, and you broke, and you just always been broke. You know, you don't know nothing but broke. They start talking about the government, talking about we under the poverty line. They say, yeah, I've always been there. You know, this ain't news to me. I didn't even know there was a line. There's one thing that you don't just, you know what I'm saying? But then there's another thing where you've appreciated some of what we call the good life. And you've appreciated having a job where you were over folk. You appreciated having this and that and the other and having folk to wait on you, and you was over people. And all of a sudden now you are in another element. You move from riches to rags. That is, you move in a situation and now it's hurting you. And some of you have been in that situation. And let me tell you what God is doing by moving you in that situation. Are you ready for this? God has enrolled you in his university. I called it Wilderness University. There are some things that you will never know unless God takes you to his university. Y'all called it other things. And some of you got a financial situation. And now you used to be where you didn't have to worry about nothing. You had money in the bank. You didn't have to look at your check. But now you're looking at every dollar. How much does that cost? Give me a discount on a coupon. You know? And what you've called it, downsizing. Now, you in the university. God has put you in his wilderness university, and he's teaching you that stuff that you was dependent on and thought that was a thing that was holding you. He said, now, let me move that out the way to let you know it never was that. I have been your help. There's some student I'm talking to here this morning. You've been in school and you were doing fine, doing well. Matter of fact, you've always known good grades. But all of a sudden, tuition now, can't deal with that. Somewhat tuition. Also, my grades are not up like they used to be. It seems like all this stuff is coming on me. And matter of fact, I even had to still out for a minute. And I call that a setback. Let me tell you what. God is taking you out that university to put you in his university, in Wilderness University, because you thought it's because you were smart. You thought because you had the hookup. But God had to move you out and said, no, it never was about that. It's about me holding you. And anybody been to his Wilderness University? Some of you got connections and hookups and friends, and sometimes God will allow those folk that you were dependent on, that you called to hook up and name drop and move them out your life. They unfriend you. They are nowhere to be found. And the reason why God did it is because he had to take you to his university, because you thought it was the connection. You thought it was because you got a hookup. And God said, it never was about your hookup. I'm the one that brought them into your life, but I'm your help. And every now and then, God got to put you in his university to let you know that he's the one that sustains you. There's some stuff that the government school can't teach you. God gonna have to take you to his university, and he holds classes in some weird places. He took Abraham to his university and took him to school up in a wilderness up on a mountain, and told him, I want you to give up your son. And he learned some stuff about God there. It was Ezekiel. He took him to school out in a cemetery and gave him a pop quiz. Can these bones? He'll put you in some weird places. He took Paul out into a desert for 3 years and taught Paul some things about faith. And Paul came out of there saying, by grace you are saved through faith. He took John on the island of Patmos, held school out there, and gave him. Yeah. Do you know sometimes when you're taking the test, you can go and look at the back of the book at the answers. He gave John the back of the book. Let me give you the end of the book. He said, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth coming down from God out of heaven. He'll put you in the wilderness university. And you'll come. Matter of fact, am I by myself? Is that somebody in here that God didn't put you in that? Anybody been to some classes? Anybody enrolled in that school? And you didn't come out with a PhD. You came out with a WHD. Won't he do it? Won't it do it? Won't it pick you up? Won't it change your life? Won't it hold you? Won't he do it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, my goodness. I got to close this, man. Look here. Look. He'll supply your needs. I've been to that university. Me and my wife, with my family, we've been, every now and then, God have to take us to school and remind us, now it ain't about what you know, it ain't about what you read, it ain't about no job you got, it ain't about the friends you have. God put us in some situation where we had to realize that all we had was him. Oh, by the way, before I tell you that, appreciate Moses' situation, that now God has put him in a situation that whatever he had in Egypt won't help him right now. Whatever hookup he had in Egypt, all he had to the big house in the palace, he can't pull out his resume in the wilderness and say, I'm Mr. Moses and I'm this, that, and the other. And God will do that sometime. God will put you in a place where your resume won't help you, your old hookups won't help you, where you came from, all the stuff you call it. It won't do you no good out here in this wilderness, because he wants you to know that you can rely only on him. Went to that wilderness, y'all, me and my family, my wife, some of our kids weren't born yet. I think we had about 3 by that time or so. And I was in between jobs. I was at one church, I was going to another, not the pastor, I was in music and all that, and moving from one church, and I had another place to go. Everybody say transition. Told the person that I was there about where I'm going. I let them know ahead of time, had them even talk to the person to make sure that all the connections were there and everybody was doing right. I want to do right by everybody. Everybody said, okay, good, that's good. It looks like it's a move for you and all that. And then the thing was, we were going to do it for 3 weeks. They said, look, 3 weeks you'll have it. I told my guy, 3 weeks. He said, okay. Next thing I know, the trustees called me in. Thank God for trustees. I love trustees. Trustees called me in. They said, we heard about your move. Congratulations, and we wish you well. But as we were looking at it, we decided that we just want to make Sunday your last Sunday. I said, okay, all right, I understand. God bless you. I ain't tripped nothing. God bless you guys. I went out, but I'm walking out and asking the question, I'm going to make it. My wife is dependent on this. On this money, and my family is dependent upon me, and how we gonna make this 3 weeks? I ain't gonna get nothing. How we gonna make it? I mean, everybody say transition. Didn't know how I was gonna make it. Can I tell y'all what happened? Can I tell y'all what happened? Well, first thing that happened was I was in the library that weekend. I was in the library. I'm just a guy. I'm in there. That's what I do. That's where I hang out. I go to the library, and I saw this guy I knew was a preacher, pastor. I said, hey, Doc. He said, hey, Sean, how you doing? I said, man, what's wrong? He said, oh, Doc, I'm sick, man. I'm just feeling so bad. You know what? Look, do you think you can preach for me Sunday? I said, yeah, I can. I can preach for you. I got Bible, we'll preach. He blessed me. That's week number 1. And by the way, I had never preached for him before. Second thing happened. Second week, the church that I was going to move to, they called me and said, look, Sean, we know that we told you 3 weeks, but there's a problem that took place. One of the guys supposed to be here, he ain't going to be able to make it, and I know we told you 3 weeks, but can you find it somewhere in your schedule that you could just come in And we'll spot you, dog. We'll spot you for this Sunday. I know it's inconveniencing you now. Yeah, I can come in. No problem. Third week. I'm in Dallas now. And my pastor in Memphis, y'all heard of Pastor Faulkner. He came and preached my installation. He called me. Hey, Sean, what's up, man? I said, what's going on? He said, look here. Man, I got to be out the country, and I need somebody to come in to preach for me for my services on Sunday. You think you can come and make it to Memphis? I'll fly you in. I'll make sure everything is taken care of. You know I'll take care of you. If you come in, can you come in on Sunday? Yeah, I can come to Memphis. I will be in Memphis. Not only did God sustain us for all 3 weeks, but can I tell you, I got more getting in the transition than I would have if I would have stayed there. Be not dismayed. Whatever betide, God will take care of you. Beneath his wing of love abide. God will take care of you. Is there anybody here that know he'll hold you? Is there anybody here that know he'll sustain you? The song said, time is filled with swift transition. Not on earth, unmoved can stand, but build your hopes on things eternal. Look at your neighbor and say, hold. Look at your neighbor and say, hold to God's unchanging hand. Won't he hold you? Won't he keep you? Won't he make a way for you? Say yeah. Say yeah. And I thank God for Jesus, because Jesus came down and he went through the wilderness. He went through transition, and it was at his lowest moment that he gave us his gift out on a hill called Calvary. He died for my sin. That was a transition. Buried in the grave. That was a transition. And the reason I know that it was a transition is because early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hand. I said, won't he do it? Is there anybody here that got your degree? Is there anybody here that got your WHD degree? Well, look at somebody. Pull it out and say, won't he do it? I said, won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah. 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 Yeah.